Here in this next series of subdivision surface tutorials, we're going to look at how we can use subdivision surfaces in a real-world situation of modeling this office chair. Subdivision surfaces will enable us to keep a relatively simple mesh, and once subdivision surfaces are applied, we'll automatically have smoother edges and surfaces. We're going to split the chair down into its components. First, the seat in the back, the armrests, the center column, the main foot, and the caster wheels. I'll put all of these components into a library so we can use them later. Here we can see that the object library is updated. All of the separate chair components have been added with their names. We're going to use these as target objects during the build of this sample tutorial. First, we'll create a new scene. We're going to start with the foot of the chair. Let's close the library and then zoom in so we can have a look at the construction. The foot is basically constructed from a cylinder with some of the faces swept and moved and rotated to provide the basic foot shape. We're going to have a look at the modeling now. The basic foot construction begins with a primitive cylinder object with 16 faces around it. We'll just reduce that in scale and move our target foot object just out of the way. We'll use that as reference in a moment. Just zoom in using the mouse wheel and then right-click to open the context menu and left-click with Control to select all the faces around the cylinder. These are going to be the root of the arms around the base. Once we've got those all selected, we need to sweep those out to create some geometry. The default distance is a little bit too far for us at the moment. We'll right-click and drag in perspective view and we'll create tighter geometry there. Once again, sweep, and now we extend those out quite a ways. I want to scale the tips of these, so while they're all selected, I select the Scale tool. Reduce the height and increase the width a little bit. My axis tools are locked out, so I just change those. Now I want to move those selected faces a bit on the Y-axis. So I'll just open up a front view and zoom in there. Select my Move tool, lock out my X and Z axis, and move my faces down horizontally. Then close that window again and we've got the basic foot. With the ends of the arms still selected, we're going to create this foot geometry that we can see on our target object. We need to sweep once more. Right-click and drag to move the geometry closer to the hub. Then click on the Rotate tool. Check that everything is selected to the X-axis. Left-click Rotate and we can rotate that face. In fact, we've rotated all of them simultaneously. Once again, move, right-click, and now we need to create one more sweep. Once again, rotate that around so it's more or less horizontal. We can check that by moving our view around. We can see there that this is a lot wider on our model. So what we need to do there is select the faces on the outside of the foot and move those out to give us a deeper detail. Right-click on the Move tool and move those out. Now if we look closely at the target object, the detailing on the foot there, we've got an extra sweep at the bottom. And that's to tighten up the mesh around that area. We're going to see that if we now do a subdivide on this object, we can see we've got a very rounded foot here. Just come back out of Subdivide, and now I'm going to select all the bottom faces. Once again, I'll sweep those and move them toward the hub. I'm just going to scale them down slightly so we've got a beveled edge there. We can look closer there. Now if I divide this object, we've got a much tighter mesh there. Just come back out of divisions there, and now we're going to create the center hub detail. Very basically, just sweep that, and underneath once again, do a sweep and move that up closer to give us some sharp detail there. If we divide that, we can see clearly that we've got a cylinder. Once again, the top surface can be swept and the mesh tightened up. We can see this now in real time in the subdivide mode. Back to the mesh, and there we have it, the foot.